The last of my cassette decks arrived today. It's another Denon DR-M44HX. It's a slightly upgraded model from the other 14HX. The reason I've got this one actually comes from America, so it's taken a while, but this one has auto tuning for the bias and EQ, which didn't come with my Nakamichi. I would have had to have gotten the CR7 instead of the CR5 to get that issue. I may try and get a CR7 one day, but it's still a great deck. Another video. Anyway, this Denon, of course, the things that I had to do was, first thing was change the voltage to 240. It seems the Yanks never ever change voltage setting before they send it. They always assume that it's 115 volts everywhere. Either that or they just don't want to touch it. But if I lived in a 120 volt country and sending it overseas, I would move it to 240 because it's a lot safer. Means whenever you plug it in, it's not going to be a problem. Whereas if I'd forgotten to change it, I would have blown it up. And I have done that before, I might add, usually my own fault, but that's why I try not to buy things from America, if I can, that aren't 240 switchable. It's just a pain in the butt. The only thing I've bought recently that's 115 volt is, believe it or not, a demagnetizer. It seems the only people in the world that have used bulk erasers are the Yanks. They're just nowhere else to be found in the world on eBay, but from the US there's lots of them. So I bought one, but what I had to do was go and buy a 240 volt to 120 transformer. But to my surprise, they're actually really cheap. I paid $59 for a 1 kilowatt step-down transformer sent locally. 59 Australian dollars. It's obviously not a transformer inside it. It's all electronic, I assume, which is why it's so cheaper. But it's meant to be pure sine waves, so well, why not? Right, now back to the Denon. I covered the mains wiring with some red tape just to be sure. After all, I don't want to kill myself. There's some tape covering the pins. Still rather crude, but doesn't matter so long as it saves my life. The front was a bit dirty, but a bit of a clean up with spray and wipe and some isopropyl alcohol, and it come up quite nicely. The other issue was, of course, cleaning the heads. It was full of cat fur and otherwise normal grime, but it come up all right. I think the only other issue of note was that the volume level on the tape was not quite right. It was low, and then all of a sudden it came good. Anyway, it turns out that it was the monitor switch, which is that one there. It's on the motherboard, but it's switched from the front, like that. Gave it a bit of deoxit, a few ins and outs, and it's now okay. Similarly, the Dolby Switch here also had a problem with the switch, moving it in or out, but it turned out it wasn't the actual contact there. It was actually the plastic arm that comes up to the front button inside down in there, and it was going through an orifice and just scraping and not releasing properly. The spring wasn't strong enough. So I just gave it a drop of oil, and now that switch works fine. That's pretty much it. I will order some belts for it if I can, but at the moment it seems to be working okay, so that's good. Getting belts for the Denons is not easy. They're a little bit easier for this 44HX, but for the 14HX it's not so easy. They're different. Going through the service manuals, they're all different part numbers, so it's hard to know exactly which one it's meant to be. Anyway, I've ordered a proper paper service manual for both this 44HX and my 14HX, and with those I should be able to compare part numbers for the belts and see whether any of them are interchangeable. The online service manuals that I've been using unfortunately aren't too clear on some of these things, so anyway, we'll keep trying, but at least both of them are working with the original belts, which is rather handy. And the only machine machines that has actually required new belts has been all of the others, the TIAC A450, the Nakamichi CR5, the Technics TR272, and the other little portables that I've been doing. They all needed belts, but the two Denons seem to be okay. That's good for the moment anyway. Alright, that's it. I just wanted to show you the small things that came up when getting the 44HX. What makes this unique is this, the auto tune start button and memory. It only has one memory, so when you've got a blank tape in there and you press that and then store it, it means that you have one stored memory for that particular type of tape, be it type 1, 2 or 4. I'm not sure how long it keeps that memory for, but good question. But if you don't turn it off, it definitely keeps the memory. You turn it off and it forgets the memory one, but still always remembers the reference tuning. So if you don't want to do an auto tune, you just leave it on reference and it will always pick the right one for type 1, 2 or 4. But the reason for getting this is to have auto tuning. It should be really good. The other Denon and the Nakamichi, they are unable to alter the EQ. The only thing you can do is there's a knob on them for tuning the bias, which I've done a small test, and yeah, it does make a difference. Alright, that's it for the Denon. Right, let's give it a go. Right, that's it for now. Goodbye.